Okay, so once we've gotten some objects in our scene, we've got our basics of scripting. So here we're just adding 10 donuts to our screen at sort of random locations. The next thing we want to do is actually view this scene. So if we go to render, we click render image, but we're going to get an error that says no camera found in scene. So the way that Blender works is a bit different than processing. We actually need a camera. So we can do this by doing add camera, and now we've added a camera, and as before we're going to copy and paste the code that pops up here and create our camera. And again, we're getting all these default values. It's just kind of nice to space these out so that we can see them. Okay, cool. So some of these we don't need. We don't need this. And we might want to play with the location and the rotation. Probably not the scale, so we'll just get rid of this one. These are the default values. Okay, we'll run this. So now we've got this and this, our camera and our images. And if we do render image, we're seeing something that we're not really sure what's going on. So what's happening here? Well, first I should just mention from before, I created a brick texture here so that we've got this background for our world. And now we want to go to our scripting tab. We need to move our camera around, right? Because the issue is we're staring right at the bottom of one of these donuts here, so you can kind of see where the camera is pointed here. So that's not really the direction that we want our camera pointing. So we need to move our camera. Let's move it up a bit. We'll move it up, let's say by 5. Okay, that seems okay, but it's not really pointing in the right direction. We need to change something about this. I don't know what. I'm just going to start randomly changing values. Does this look like it might be pointing at something? No. Ooh, that looks good. Looks like we might be pointing at something we can see. Try this, render image. Okay, and now we see some of our donuts here on our brick background. I don't really like the brick background, but well, that's fine for now. Okay, so this is one way to get our camera set up, but manually managing the location like this is a pain in the neck, because it's hard to get it to be in the right place. So what we're going to do is get our camera to track some position. So I'm going to add what's called an empty. And this is just going to allow us to pin some point on our screen. So I'm going to pin my point here, and this will automatically be created. The location here is the origin, so that's the default, so we don't need any of this. So we've created this empty here, and now what we're going to do after we create the empty, the next thing we want to do is add our camera, and we're not going to manually manage the rotation anymore. Now what we're going to do is have the camera automatically point at the empty. Now there's a way to do this, again, through clicking all these buttons on the interface, but I already have the code for you handy in here, in this example that I showed you before. This is a bit more of a complex example because we also have keyframes for all this, but you can see we added our object, and then we're actually moving that empty around so that our camera will follow some path. And the part that we really care about is down here where we're adding a constraint, a tracking constraint to our camera. So it's critical that we added our camera, so our context, the object that we're talking about, is the one that we most recently added. So this line really needs to come this line needs to come after you've added the camera. You can't add anything else in between. But this is going to say I want to add a tracking to constraint on my camera, and I want it to track to this empty object that I created up here. So all I have to do is paste this in, and if I hit play, now you can see here actually my camera is pointed with this little blue line at the origin. And so what's great about this is I can change the location, change this to 10 of my camera. And you can see my camera here is still, camera is still pointed at that same location. So this is a really nice way where you don't have to really think about the orientation of the camera. You just set the position where you want it, a point where you want it to point. Now if we render our image, you can see our donuts a little bit better here. Kind of a hideous background, but that's okay.